All right, thank you, Mr. Leader and Whip, and our Vice Chairman, Blake Moore, is filling in for Elise, who's a little under the weather this morning, our conference chair. Glad y'all are here. Lots of things going on around the world, and let me address first, it's top of mind for us, the death of the passing of Iran's president. We would just say clearly that the world is a little bit safer place this morning because of that. He was clearly a malign force to the Iranian people and to Israel and the West. While he engaged in torture and terror, the International Criminal Court, I think it's important to note this morning, maybe ironically, they never targeted him or even considered arresting him. But instead, what we see right now is the ICC has chosen to target Israel with baseless and illegitimate arrest warrants, and it's attempting to equate Israel's just war for its existence with the horrific acts of the October 7th massacre. To us, this is just unconscionable. You have international bureaucrats. We're not going to allow them to use warfare to undermine state sovereignty or usurp the authority of democratic nations. America should punish the ICC and put Karim Khan back in his place. And if the ICC is allowed to threaten Israel's leaders, we know that America will be next. There is a reason that we've never endorsed the International Criminal Court, because it is a direct affront to our own sovereignty. We don't put any international body among or above American sovereignty, and Israel doesn't do that either. Congress is reviewing all of our options right now. We have some very aggressive legislation that we're going to push as quickly as possible. It will impose sanctions. And if the ICC moves forward with its absurd warrant arrest or request, this is going to be an even bigger international problem. Regarding the border, sadly, international bureaucrats are not the only ones trying to subvert the notion of state sovereignty. Our own Commander-in-Chief, Joe Biden, is continuing to undermine America's sovereignty through his open border policy. We got the latest report from the border this morning. Fox News' Bill Maloogian reported that there were large groups of persons coming from Middle Eastern countries and China, men of military age probably, and by appearance of military capability, just flowing right across the border into our country. The problem continues every single day. And now you have Senator Schumer, who's trying to give his vulnerable members cover for this because they've created this catastrophe by voting on a bill which has already failed in the Senate. It may not even get 50 votes because it's a bad bill, and it's really a phony messaging exercise that's going to go nowhere. The House, of course, as we all know, we talk about in here all the time, we pass multiple bipartisan bills, by the way, to secure the border and deport criminal illegal immigrants, including the Laken Riley Act. But every single measure that we have sent to the Senate has been blocked by Senator Schumer. If he was serious in his attempt to secure the border, Senator Schumer would bring up H.R. 2, the Secure the Border Act, which, as you all know, was the most comprehensive border security bill ever passed by Congress that we did now more than 13 months ago. It's been sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk. If they were serious, they would move that legislation through the Senate and get it to the president's desk, and he would sign it into law. But they are not serious about it because they engineered the open border. Do not ever forget, we documented at least 64 specific executive actions that President Biden himself took, beginning on the first day he walked in the Oval Office, and that his agencies at DHS under the direction of Secretary Mayorkas, whom we impeached in the House, that they engineered. They opened the border wide. They did it intentionally. They're not serious about the issue. Many Democrats, many leading Democrats here in Washington want illegal aliens in our country. Why? So they can become voters and they can affect the outcome of the census in 6 years to affect reapportionment in Congress. Now, if you want example of that, look at the District of Columbia. That's what Leader Scalise was mentioning. The City Council has decided they want non-citizens and foreign actors deciding who will serve as mayor and the local attorney general here. As the body in charge of overseeing D.C., Congress will not support such lawless behavior. It's a violation of federal law. We're not going to let Russian spies and criminal aliens decide who runs our nation's capital. We're just not going to do it. And that's why the House is voting this week to reverse the dangerous decisions by the D.C. City Council and bar non-citizens from voting in D.C. elections. I was grateful when Congress and the White House worked together to reverse D.C.'s dangerous revisions to the criminal code. And if this voting bill can't pass, everybody watch very closely. It's going to be proof proof positive that there are some Democrats who want illegal aliens deciding election outcomes. It's going to be clear they don't want Americans deciding American elections.